Order. This meeting is held electronically as per section 19.1 of the town's procedure bylaw number 6228-19 as amended due to the COVID-19 situation. Can I have a motion to approve the agenda as circulated by Legislative Services, Tom and Michael? Questions or comments on the agenda? Okay, so call the vote. Okay, that passes. Any declarations of pecuniary interest? None. Okay. So receipt of the meeting minutes. May I please have a motion to receive the meeting minutes of February 9, 2021? Michael and Tom. Questions or comments? Okay, vote. Nice. Okay, so we had no delegations this evening, and we'll move to 6.1, memorandum from the manager of financial management regarding 2022 budget process and timelines. So is that you, Rachel?
Yep, that's me. Well, it's actually Jason, but I'm going to speak to it.
Okay.
Okay, so this report is just to confirm our timeline for the budget for this year. So what we have proposed is dates similar to the ones we had for this last budget process, but the same amount of time and the same plan for the schedule. So the good thing is coming up on this budget, we're planning for basically a lot of the same format that we saw last year. So a lot of it will not be new to us this coming year. So it'll be more familiar second time through. Because I know over the last couple of years, we've had significant changes in the operating and capital budget.
Tom?
Oh, thanks, Mr. Chair. No, I wasn't sure if you were actually. Through you to Rachel, or Jason. I'm just curious about the public session, June 1st. I'm not sure whether we're going to be like actually in person or not. But my question is that I know last year we did it as a totally separate meeting, and I'm wondering, should we look at possibly doing it earlier than another meeting? So we're not, because last year what happened was we all came, we sat for half an hour, and then we just called adjournment and we left because no one showed up. So I'm wondering, do we kind of attach it to another meeting so that way we're actually showing up just in case no one does show up, and we can continue to be there to actually have another meeting?
So Jason, correct me if I'm wrong, but right now the way it's planned is the public session would be before a committee meeting. I'm not sure. So if we would start having that meeting prior to a committee meeting, and then at 7 o'clock we'd roll into our committee meeting. I'm not sure if we'd be able to have it as part of a general committee meeting or not. That would be more of a question for the clerk's office, and I'm not sure if Linda would want to answer that.
And that's fine. Through you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, no, I'm not saying to combine them. I'm just saying that exactly as you just said, is to have one, at least have another meeting after that one, so that way we're not just showing up just specifically for that, and then find out that there's nothing that's going to happen, and then we all end up going home. I mean, it's different if we're doing it virtually, I guess, because it's not that bad. You can just turn off the computer. But I do believe by June we're looking at meeting in person at the end of the month. So by June, I would definitely think that we'll be meeting in person. So I'd like for us to have something else, and if that's the case, then that's great.
Any other comments? Okay. Put to vote all those in favor. Or Michael, you had a comment?
Yeah, just along the lines with Tom. I think again, it's important for us to make every effort to try and promote and get this message out. We've always struggled with feedback and attendance, but that doesn't mean that we can't continue to challenge ourselves to find ways to get people to participate. We have a new communication manager on board, so perhaps she can take a stab at trying to find ways to engage the public more and get them to be participatory. I certainly agree with Tom that with regards to, let's not just have the meeting for the sake of have the meeting, put some stuff around it so that, it makes use of everybody's time that evening. That's it.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, if there's no further comments, put the item to a vote. All those in favor?
Excuse me, Mr. Chair.
Opposed?
Can I have a mover and a seconder?
Oh, sorry. Okay, Michael, Tom? All those in favor? Okay, passes. Number 2, it's memorandum from Project Management Office regarding the town's major capital projects updates. And I'll give that back to Rachel.
So for this item, can I ask Leanne to present? It's her memo, and I don't see Doug here.
Sure. Leanne?
Good afternoon, everyone. Yes, actually, I'm happy to walk you through the report. So, as you know, this report contains 5 major projects right now. Based on your request, we include the financial system update and technology strategic plan implementation project to this report. So the Library Square project, overall, this project is on track. The channels actually continue demolishing and excavation of the work at the Library Square, at the Library Schoolhouse over the last 2 months. The west entrance tower to the library completely removed. The interior demolishing continues on the 1st and 2nd floor of the library. The HVAC, the temporary HVAC unit has been installed in order to provide the heating when we are decommissioning the existing rooftop unit. Also, the Church Street Schoolhouse, the north stair elevator shaft of the Church Street Schoolhouse has been completely demolished. And the excavation and underpinning of the foundation is underway. The relocation and upgrade of the gas meter actually postponed to spring and summer 2021 due to some interference that we may have with the construction of the new performing arts facility. So that piece, the project schedule update was based on that. And the parking lot, demolishing of the retaining wall at the existing parking lot, almost complete. And Chandos brings down the site grade to its future elevation. The project is scheduled that we have and baselined on December 24th. That shows the substantial completion at August 2022. It's intact, so nothing changed so far. The budget, we are on track, on budget so far. So far we have 27 contemplated change order, which cost 214,000, more than 214,000 is the cost of our change order to date. That is going to be drawn from contingencies. Any question on Library Square? Just moving to Fire Hall project. And this project is overall on
Actually,
track.
sorry, Leanna. I think Michael has a question.
Yeah, sure.
I can wait to the end till she's done and then ask all
Yeah. Okay, sure. Okay, Leanne, go ahead. We'll do it at the end of the whole presentation.
Okay, perfect. So the Fire Hall, overall, this project progressing well. So the installation of the foundation and footings are complete. Structural steel is complete. And decking, installation of a steel decking is still underway. It started on February 17 and it's underway. The plumbing and underground plumbing, it's at 90% completion. Service connection, the only outstanding service connection is hydro and gas that our general contractor is in communication with the vendor, with the service provider. So until the time I prepared this report, no date confirmed for the installation. Also, in terms of communication, the communication division, the town's communication division is working to create a web page to provide update to community. So on both Aurora and Newmarket website. Project schedule, the delay, we have a little bit delay, 7 days delay, almost 7 days delay in substantial performance. Basically, it's due to the soil condition that we had before and the installation of helical piles. In terms of budget, as you see, we are still on track. So we have 11 change orders so far that approved by project sponsor that cost $771,000. That is drawn from contingency. Risks due to the weather condition. Weather is always a risk to the project as we are in the winter season yet. So, but so far the risks was this impact was minimal. Joint Operations Center, this additional work, this project, as you know, has a 13 sub-projects. Majority of the components of this project has already completed, and we're pretty sure that we're going to complete the rest by summer 2021. In terms of cost, we are on track, so we just used 65% of the project budget to date. Financial system, as you know, the towns is in process of obtaining the financial system. This project has two phases. The phase one of the project is development of the system requirements. So for this phase, the consultant hired. So we're working on the consultant actually completed the sessions with all towns key stakeholders and key users to understand the current state process and desired future state. So the outcome of this phase of the project will be the future state process and also the RFP, which we anticipate this phase completed in Q3 2021. The second phase is purchase and implementation of the software. This software, whatever we decision, the outcome of the phase one, we are going through that and we are planning to implement this project by end of Q2 2023. The project budget is $1.5 million. We already spent $125,000, more than $125,000 so far, which is 8.4% of the project budget. In terms of technology strategic plan implementation, I think you all have been in the presentation session that our IT manager has done for the council. So you have seen the details of what is in their implementation plan. Overall, this project has 3 phases. The phase one is the revamping of the technology management model, which is underway, started 2020, and we anticipate to complete in 2022. The phase 2 of the project is the process digitalization and mobilization, which it's the target, the aim that is streamlining and digitalizing town's core business processes. So this project, this phase is also underway, started 2022, and we expect to complete in 2024. Phase 3 is optimization through the data and digital services. So by using the data that it's definitely generated from the phase 2, so we are just planning to have the more data-driven organization and data-driven decision-making model. So this is gonna be target 2022 to 2024 for this phase of the project. In order to implement this process, IT governance committee has been established. This committee is supposed to oversee the town's strategic technology roadmap and information technology investments and monitor the delivery of the town's technology portfolio. The committee term of reference has already developed, and we are looking to start to have the first meeting with this committee in Q2 2021. This committee is supposed to provide updates about this strategic planning technology TSP, let's say TSP, to council once a year, and every month more frequent to the Financial Advisory Committee. Yeah, pretty much. I'm sorry, I'm not sure if Doug before walked you through the attachment or not. If you want, I can also talk about the attachment.
No, I don't think so, unless someone had anything specific to comment on those attachments. So can I have a mover and a seconder? The Tom and Michael. Call a vote. Oh, sorry, we're just gonna move it. Okay. Excuse me. Comments or questions?
Questions, Harold?
Sorry?
I did have some questions.
Yeah. Go ahead, Mike.
Just in regards to the schedule or the chart on page 3, just I wanted to clarify, it talks about this is for Library Square, it talks about the consultant fees, construction costs, and then it categorizes town allowances. I don't think I've seen that phrase used before when talking about Library Square. So what is being captured for town allowances?
So we have some fees like FF&E. Some of the FF&E, it's going to be purchased and procured by town. It's going to be more than $1 million of FF&E. Towns is responsible to procure. This is going to be expense there.
So it's furniture, fixtures, and equipment.
Correct. Yeah, furniture, fixtures, and equipment.
Okay. And then I think this one's probably better directed to Rachel, Mrs. Wainwright Van Kessel, with regards to the fire hall. And this could be, I guess, an issue with regards to our system or just tracking things, but I couldn't help but notice that the contingency amount in this report is different than the contingency amount spent to date in the fire report, the JCC report from last Tuesday. So it lists the spent to date at 805,000 roughly. This one's 771. So, I know we need a better system in terms of IT and stuff, but how can we do a better job of just when we have reports, all the reports having the same numbers?
Rachel?
So through you, Mr. Chair, so part of it is gathering information is quite cumbersome and it doesn't necessarily break down to the level of detail that we have on this report here from our financial system. The other piece is these reports are all a picture in time. So depending on when the actual fire report was run versus when this report was run, there could have been additional payments that had been made. So they're all based on that one moment in time and when they're run. So if they're not done on the same date, they're going to have different numbers with an active project like this.
I'm just wondering if there's a better process to be able to capture and keep things current. I don't know, something to think about as we go through this, is that, it's unfortunate that this report then would seem to have been written prior to the JCC report, even though it's being delivered a week after JCC. And so I don't know the issue, I don't know the solution to it, but it would be good as we continue to look at our IT strategies, ways that we can enhance this information. These are electronic reports. I don't know if there's any way to link it to be able to update it or not, but it's just something to consider because it's always nice to get the most accurate information we can and the most up to date. Those are the only two things I noticed within the report. Thanks very much.
Leanne or Rachel, in terms of the fire hall costs, it seems like about 70-75% of the contingency has already been used up, and we still have almost a year left until completion. Are we, based on our expectations, do we still have some room there in the contingencies, or should we be a little bit concerned?
I can answer this. So at the last meeting of the fire meeting, so with the Joint Council Committee, Mr. Downey did speak to this a bit. And part of it is the biggest risk we have is until we get out of the ground. So at this point in time, because we have now gotten to the point where we have this, the structure starting to take shape, and also because of the additional work we did with our contractor and with our architect, working together quite closely in the redesign of the fire hall to meet within budget. There was a lot of synergies that were gained there and able to actually look at things in more detail. So he was fairly confident that for the contingency, we should be okay because we're above ground. Like the biggest risk was what we were going to find in the ground. And again, like the helical piers was one of the big charges that we faced.
Okay. I think that's it for me for now. Tom, did you have anything?
I actually brought up some concerns with Doug, but he answered my question, so
Okay.
ahead of time, so I'm fine. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Well, if there's no further comments and questions, then call a vote. All those in favor? No one opposed. Okay. Move on to 6.3. Memorandum from Manager of Financial Management regarding summary of the Finance Advisory Committee's term accomplishments to date. So put that to Rachel.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So this report is just a summary of the items that were accomplished over the 2019 to early 2021 period. Mr. Gartner put this together, but it just gives FAC an overview of the things that we have done over this period of time to date. And in their January meeting, there was a timeline put together of things that we plan on accomplishing for the rest of this year. So it's just a progress report as to where we're at now.
Okay, could I have a mover? A seconder? Tom, Michael? Any questions or comments?
Mr. Chair, I'll just say that
Okay.
Thank everyone for a lot of work being completed up to this date. Just thank everyone for all the work that they've done so far.
Yeah, I'll echo that. I don't have anything else. I was going through those years. I didn't think we got that much done, but I wasn't here for 1920, but a lot was done. Thank you to staff. Michael?
Through you to, I guess, to Doug. Will Michael Movena be sort of presenting this to council in general, or, I mean, it's come to FAC, is the same report going to go to GC? What's the next steps? Because I'm sure there's many on council who would like to see all this as well, or, get regular updates. How do you envision keeping council informed?
Doug?
Through Mr. Chair, so this is the summary of all the activities of the FAC, this report.
It's also IT, a lot of the IT strategic and things like that. So I was just
on the IT portion alone, you just wondering about the updates to the strategic plan?
Well, it's just talking about the corporate technology strategic plan update, and there's a lot of value in here, and I just was looking at, I guess, Michael providing some feedback with regards to that.
Yep.
Sorry,
Yep.
I'm still on the old one.
Yeah, that was the last report. I was just gonna.
Yeah, I'm still on that. Sorry. So that I'm still on that, and I just think there's so much information there that I guess that's why I was wondering next steps. And sorry for being slow.
So we just gave a strategic plan update, which is a very broad form of it to council, I believe at the last meeting. I think it was in the February cycle. So we've committed to absolutely doing these updates more often than we would normally for these kinds of projects because of the magnitude of the project and the number of resources that council has given us. So I don't know what the timing is for the next one, but I would say probably before year end, you'll have another one in terms of the governance committee. We know we're coming back with that, as well as the standards for capital equipment replacement and the lease versus purchase option, all those things. So all those things are scheduled to come back before the end of the year.
I appreciate that because I think that everybody appreciates the library score update that you provide council on a regular basis, and I think that the IT and is just as important internally. And, obviously we've had many discussions. There's a lot of resources applied to it. It'd be just as good to keep that at the forefront with regular updates as well.
Yep, will do.
As for the current report, it looks great.
Okay, if there's no other questions, I'll call the vote. All those in favor? And no one opposes. Passes. New business. Michael?
Through to Doug. With regard to the service level review, I suspect that, now that the tender is closed, that the process will get started. Is there a role for FAC at some point to either work with the consultant or have conversations after the draft report's done prior to it coming to council, or do you think it's better just to go to GC?
Doug?
Through you, Mr. Chair, no, I think we could absolutely involve the FAC. I think we could probably do it even before that. I would think it would be appropriate once we have the consultant selected to probably have a bit of an introduction by the consultant and make sure that the work that the consultant is going to set out to do is matching with what FAC and council sees as happening. So we're in that process now. There was a lot of qualified bids. There was 10 that met the standards for the proposal. So I'm also participating on the committee to review those, and we've aimed to have them all reviewed by Friday and a meeting on Monday of the committee to award. So we should have it done well before the end of March.
Great. Thanks.
Tom, did you have anything?
No new business. Thank you.
I just have a couple of small items. So looks like the town received 1.8 million in additional COVID relief. We don't have to talk in detail here, but staff have some options to delegate to spearhead some of these funds, or still kind of thinking about it.
I'm sure.
So, through you, Mr. Chair, or I guess to you, Mr. Chair. So we were given, I think, till the end of the month to acknowledge that we were receiving the funds, and Ms. Wainwright Van Kessel has done that and sent the form in. So we will be getting the monies. They have been paid over 2 installments over the course of the year. They have not been very prescriptive about what those funds can be used for. They have said that they expect them to be used to offset pressures that we have faced as a result of COVID-19. So as you'll remember from budget, we didn't anticipate in spending all of the funds that we already had in 2021. We thought there might be still some left over at the end of 2021. So this gets added to that for now. We have also, though, since budget, done a few things that weren't planned. So, for example, we've the rinks the extra rinks that we bought were an example of a COVID-related expense that we will process through that funding. We also set up a special room to accommodate the site plan meetings for Library Square, given the number of participants and the fact that a lot of people have to participate via Zoom. So we spent some extra money that wasn't originally planned, and we've taken that on as a town alone just to facilitate a better communication. So those are 2 examples off the top of the kinds of things that we'll be looking to use the funding for. As far as we can tell, those types of things will be 100% recoverable out of that fund. And at this stage, it's safe to say we have quite a bit of room. Of course, we can't predict how many more red zones, lockdowns will go through, and those impacts on revenue. So I'm sure we'll eat into some of it from the operating perspective as this goes on. But all indications are that the province isn't going to be too heavy-handed or demanding of us, like for this year, even in terms of this fiscal year. I would think that if there is going to be a reconciliation, it'll probably be in 2022 or beyond before the government would ask us to reconcile. For now, they've said if you don't need it in the current year, you're expected to put it in a reserve. So I'm sure they'll have more guidance as time goes on if we have funding left over.
Yeah, and just to add to that, my staff are working with the other departments just to potentially identify areas where we could use some of this additional COVID funding. One of the areas that we were looking at particularly was with the senior center and some of the programs that we've been delivering virtually with them, and they've been having a lot of uptake, especially during COVID, as a way to keep connected and communicate with each other. So we're looking at programs across that can help provide better services for residents right now during COVID that they wouldn't be able to have otherwise with the lockdowns that are in place. And as Doug mentioned, these monies are able to be used up until 2022. So if we do have any of those lingering impacts of COVID, then we will be able to use them then. But this latest amount of money that we received, there is going to be some reporting requirements on it, but we just don't know what it's going to be as of yet.
Now, we have a lot of capital projects going on, and there's got to be some, COVID-related delays or extra equipment or things that we might or must have needed. So are there things from our capital projects that we could allocate these funds for that can release some pressure?
I also have my staff working with the facilities group to look to see if there's any options there where we could apply some of this COVID funding, particularly relating to like HVAC systems, ventilation, better structures around the office to prevent infections, again, like now and in the future. So we are looking at that. It's just if there's any new capital requirements, we will need to come back to council before we can just move ahead with those. Some of the operating ones, it's a little bit more flexible in what we can do there.
And lastly, related to this topic, I know when the U.S. Federal Reserve came out with their monthly statements, everyone looks at every single word to see if anything's changed with respect to monetary policy. So in the same vein, the language that we received from the federal government when they released the first 1.8 million installment compared to this recent 1.8 million and the verbiage there, has any verbiage changed at all in the two communications?
So what we've found in general is when we receive anything from the province, they seem to act first and then write things up later. So we're still waiting for more of the details. We don't know what the reporting requirements are going to be at this point. It's just that they're saying there are going to be some.
Okay.
If I could just add, it has been determined that most of this round of funding has come from the province directly. So the feds have played very little role, if any, in this latest round of funding. So.
Yeah, and I'll throw in. Yeah, that was mentioned at the mayor's meeting today. They all mentioned that the majority of it, almost all of it, was from the province, not from the feds.
Thanks, Michael.
Along that topic, I mean, it's almost been a year now that we've got employees working from home. Do we reimburse employees for any home office expenses that have been incurred, or have we seen a rise in the equipment like laptops and so forth, so that they can work from home? And if so, obviously, would that be something that would be qualified under the COVID funding?
So through you, Mr. Chair, there's been very little in the way of extra expenses that employees have passed on to us. In most cases, everybody had internet, and those people, we had laptops in everybody's hands that needed them. We had a couple of limited instances at the beginning where we were trying to find our way, and there were some expenses that were put through that we put a stop to in terms of putting a different control on. We didn't want to use this opportunity to have people upgrading their monitors and doing things like that at home, even though they probably were needed for the more intense work. In the absence of a policy or council direction to approve those kinds of expenses, we said that that wasn't acceptable. And since then, we've had really no issues. We've allowed our tech support teams to support getting your home printer working, not to the extent that we'd go out and buy a new one, or not to the extent that we'd go out and spend a bunch of money on it, but certainly we've allowed our tech people to find drivers and make sure that they can do everything they can from home that's possible. So it's really been very, very much problem free, and employees have not really asked for much in the way of extra compensation for any of the costs they're seeing in home.
That's great. Any idea what we're targeting or what other municipalities are targeting for the return to the town hall?
So through you, Mr. Chair, the mayor and I just had a conversation about this last week. We haven't, right now, our official statement has been at the end of June that we would be coming back. As time goes on and we look at the numbers that were anticipated to be vaccinated, now up until this week, again, these things are changing all the time, but when I had the conversation with Mayor Maracas, I had actually done a survey of our employee base, and I determined that by June the 1st, I believe it was, 5 of our employees were entitled to be vaccinated. And so at that point, it was looking like it really didn't make much sense to bring everybody back into the buildings when, pretty much nobody was going to be had the chance to be vaccinated. Now, again, that's changing. And as the mayor and I discussed, we're not going to change that just yet. We're going to give another month and see how things go. But it's probably looking like a September 1 start. The region has already said September 1. And in fact, confidentially, they're talking about moving that out to January 1. That's partially because of the displacement of people within their organization because of the obviously the demand they faced on the health side. So it's partially physical as well as a safety issue. But they will probably be announcing January. I think there might be one other municipality that said September, and the rest are pretty much in the same place we are right now, not considering coming back till June, and all kind of looking at pushing that out until the majority of the staff are vaccinated and until the numbers are better from the pandemic perspective.
Thanks, Doug. And I don't know how confidential it is now that it's been recorded and it's live on YouTube.
I'll make sure to send that to Bruce, the copy of it.
Oops.
I just said that because I probably is been more widely talked about anyway. So.
Anything else, Michael? No. Just one other thing, Rachel. How is the one investment in the joint investment board going with those initial municipalities who went in the first wave? Do you know how that's going and whether it's going to come back to council for a second review?
So to Mr. Chair, I don't have an update on how it's going. I know they did start up the joint investment board last year. They do have their board members all in place and it is running. We are planning on bringing it back to council. It will likely be in the fall. It's part of our fiscal strategy is going to recommend investing our reserves better over the long term to, reduce reliance on tax and ratepayers for paying for asset replacement. So it is still on the books. We still plan on doing it and we'll be bringing back more information in the fall.
Okay, great, thank you. Okay, if there's nothing else, I could have a mover to adjourn. Michael, Tom, all those in favor? Great. Okay, thanks very much, everybody. Thanks, Jason, Rachel, Leanne, Linda.